Tension has escalated ahead of the protest at the Rafah border in Egypt. This protest is part of international efforts to deliver aid to people of Gaza. Activists from 30 countries, including South Africa, will embark on this protest at Rafah. For more on this, let's speak to SABC News Correspondent Trent Murray. Trent, we saw reports that activists from 30 countries will march to the Rafah border. Any reaction from the government of Israel?
We've not had an official statement yet from the government of Israel. They'll undoubtedly be watching all of this very closely. I think really where we have to watch is what the reaction is going to be in Cairo, because of course it will be Egyptian territory that these activists will be looking to march across in order to reach the Rafah crossing. We do know that one of the caravans that's making up this march has indeed already embarked. Now, there's around 1,000 pro-Palestinian activists who have left the Tunisian capital, Tunis. We understand those activists include members from Mauritania, Morocco, Algeria and Tunisia. They have now crossed into Tunisia and are making their way to Egypt, and then it's there that they're going to gather, it is thought, ahead of this major global march for Gaza, which is taking place. They are going to arrive in an Egyptian place called Al Arish. Now, that's about 50 kilometres from the Rafah border crossing, and it's from there that they're all going to march together later this week and try and approach the crossing. I guess, again, the big question is how the Egyptians are going to react in all of this, because we do know that on the Egyptian side there are pretty big fortifications and border fences with barbed wire and troops on the ground. If indeed they let them through, then that could pose some difficulties for the Israelis on the other side. But it certainly seems like this is growing. A number of groups across Europe now are gathering and fundraising in order to try and fly to Cairo to take part in all of this. They say that it's made up of, in their words, doctors, students, lawyers and everyday people who just want to try and get humanitarian aid into Gaza and also send a global message.
Trent, President Donald Trump has been calling for a ceasefire in all of this. Is there any progress on these talks?
It's a good question. We are hearing some reporting here in Israeli media that there is some cautious progress being made between the negotiators. We need to remember, of course, that again it's Egypt and also Qatar, which is playing a pretty central role here, mediating between Israel and also representatives from Hamas. Of course, from the Israeli side, they are under pressure, not just internationally regarding a ceasefire, but also domestically, internally. There's around 20 hostages which are thought still to be living, being held by Hamas. The families here, I can tell you, are still very, very vocal and are still holding their protests here weekly in order to put pressure on the government of Netanyahu to release those hostages. Again, cautious optimism that potentially a ceasefire is closer, but at the same time we are seeing the Israelis certainly not backing off in any way when it comes to increasing the military tempo and moving in a more heavy-handed way into places like Khan Yunis and Rafah in the south of the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, and just finally, Trent, as I let you go, I mean, obviously we're seeing so many different organisations trying to get into Gaza.
My apologies, I think I've just lost you on the telephone here.
Okay.
I apologise.
All right,
but I'm not going to be able to hear you.
All right, no problem. Trent, let's leave it there. Let's let Trent go. It just seems that we've lost him on this particular one. But Trent Murray really keeping us abreast of what is happening there. And this is where the protest, ahead of the protest at the Rafah border in Egypt, part of the international effort to deliver aid to the people of Gaza. I mean, we know what happened when Greta Thunberg also trying to enter into Gaza, and those that were on that humanitarian boat were taken just before they could get to it. So they didn't manage to be successful. Let's see how this team does now.